Okay. Uh, Thank you ladies, for showing up. Really do appreciate that. I'm not sitting here talking to myself, because if you didn't show up, I would still be expected to do this and record the whole thing and make it available. So I really appreciate you. Like I said, this is a webinar format, so your cameras aren't active during the presentation. As long as you're here, though, you're in the right place. You'll get your credits through Trek and all that good stuff. And actually, what I put in the chat, a couple links there. Lucas is the regional manager in the Texas area. I put his contact info. If we can ever help you, represent you, as far as inspections and anything like that, he is the man. There's also a link to some of the other classes that we have in there, so I put those in there. All right. Like my friend Matthew McConaughey likes to say. Thank you guys. Really appreciate this. Kitchen and bath appliances, what real estate agents need to know. I am going to do my best to keep you all awake, all right? We will be recording this, like I mentioned, so if you want to watch it later, I promise it'll be better than you might think, okay? If you want to watch it later, put your email addresses in the chat and I'll make sure to send you the link. This class is good for a couple credits towards your license. Now, it typically takes, you all probably already know, about a week or so for Trek to get those credits into your account. And unfortunately, there's nothing that we can do to expedite that process. It just is what it is. As soon as this is over, I go into the account and click "You attended." And then that's the end of my duties there, other than sending you a link to the recording. You will also get an email, though, asking for some feedback, basically, on how John did. If you say I suck, I don't take anything personal, because we're always trying to improve. Make the content better, make the presentation better. So I'm open to any and all constructive criticism and feedback that you got. We appreciate that. So who the heck am I? I'm just John, basically. I started doing inspections in 1998, and besides a degree in building construction, I've accumulated quite a few certifications and licenses along the way. I've completed over 12,000 various inspections throughout my career. I've helped train and develop inspectors across the country. I'm a national speaker on inspection-related things, and I've published multiple articles, national, local. I've even written a couple books. And I say this stuff not to brag by any means, just to let you know where I'm coming from and maybe earn a little bit of trust, all right? I am not a real estate agent, nor will I ever be one. I'm just John, the home inspector. Right now, this is what we have left on the schedule: residential structural inspections. So if you were interested, I put that link in there. No links in the chat. What the heck? There we go. I never hit enter. Thank you. And by the way, I attempt to view the chat and continue to talk at the same time, which is a little hard. So if I don't respond right away, it's because you all know what it's like, right? Now that you have those links there, those are the continuing education portal. There's some of the other classes we've done. I think those are all, well, I know they're all recorded. I think those are all available. So if you're interested in attending others, or if you want us to come speak at your office or for your team or anything like that, feel free to get a hold of Lucas there. He'll make sure that it happens. All right, so before we get rolling, this class is sponsored by TLC Home Inspections. TLC is a local multi-inspector firm servicing Austin, San Antonio, Houston, all the surrounding areas. And here's what you get when you choose TLC as your inspection partner. We do over 6,000 inspections a year, so we come from a lot of experience. We know that you ladies work 7 days a week, so we're available 7 days a week as well. We include warranties with all our full home inspections for that protection beyond the inspection. We are also, this is really, really cool. We provide something called HomeBinder. If you're not familiar with it, for the client, HomeBinder is a single, simple, secure online platform for all their home maintenance stuff. Clients can store all their home's documents in there, including their inspection reports, warranty stuff, repairs, renovations, all those kind of things. And then they also get maintenance reminders and appliance recall notifications, which is really, really cool. HomeBinder also offers a free concierge service. So home buyers are able to utilize that in order to find people to help set up all their utilities, all the services that come with moving, all those kind of things. Those companies are vetted by the company, and they are specific for each market. Now, the clients do not have to use HomeBinder. It's simply a free complimentary service that TLC makes available for all the clients and agents. And speaking of y'all, HomeBinder brands every message and reminder that's sent out to the client with your information. They're basically marketing you for free. That keeps you at the top of their mind, which is really cool. HomeBinder also provides a repair pricer for the deficiencies, the stuff that's found in the report. Those things are researched for local specific areas, so you know that they're accurate. And that repair pricer thing only goes out to you. Okay, so you can utilize it if you want. If you don't, throw it away. It doesn't cost anybody anything for that. We typically deliver inspection reports within a couple hours of the inspection, as long as the inspection gods are on our side. TLC has over 1,400 five-star reviews online, so we take client services very, very serious, and we offer a 200% money-back guarantee. What that means is if the client's not completely satisfied with the inspection, not only do we refund their money, but we're also going to pay for and send out the inspector of their choice to redo the inspection all over again. That helps take the risk out of using us. So here are a few things that separate us from the competition. We do a free thermal imaging scan on every inspection that we perform. This gives us the ability to help identify things like missing insulation, leaks, overheated breakers and wires, leaky ductwork, those kind of things. There's so many different things that infrared finds that you cannot find without it. Most of our packages include foundation elevation readings. So that way we help take that guesswork. I know you have a lot of clay and a lot of foundation movements and stuff like that, so we provide that for free. With most of our packages, they include the irrigation for free up to 12 zones. We do in-house termite, we do in-house swimming pools and septics. And depending on what market you're in, we also offer mold and indoor air quality assessments. So we can do samples, air samples, surface samples, all those kind of things, depending on the situation, and sewer scopes. If you guys have not seen a sewer scope or been through one, I highly, highly, highly recommend them for every single transaction you do. I highly recommend them for your own homes. The more we do them, the more stuff we find, and you'd be shocked at how many issues we find, whether it's new housing stock or old housing stock. It's a shocker. I highly, highly recommend those. And lastly, real quick, we are extremely happy to announce that we now offer the option for your clients to pay at close. Very cool thing. And there's no additional fees associated with that. All right, let's get into the good stuff now. In today's class, we're going to cover the following stuff. Basic characteristics of kitchen appliances, bathroom appliances, common problems with these appliances, and what we as home inspectors look for. Appliances. It's again, it is kind of funny, and I appreciate you guys being here. I think about appliances. Like I'll tell you about my appliances. My bedroom fan, it blows me away. My fridge is pretty cool, but my vacuum sucks. Like I said, I can't see you, so I'm imagining everybody laughing with me and not at me. I'm going to do my best here with appliances. All right, a really cool quote. The most reliable appliance has simplicity and quality, does what's demanded of it, is economical to use, easy to maintain, and just as easy to repair, kind of like your husband's, right? All right, so what is an appliance? An appliance, by definition, is a piece of equipment or machinery that is used to perform one or more household tasks. I say this to my wife, and she just laughs and says, "Get back to work." So, besides the dishwasher, included are things like washing machines, refrigerators, stoves, air handlers, the whole HVAC system, water heaters. Those are the type of appliances we're talking about. Now, we're going to start off a little bit with talking about how to handle appliances when we sell a house. Obviously, a lot of you guys are listing agents, right? And generally speaking, the kitchen appliances stay with the home, while things like laundry appliances, those could go either way, right? The refrigerator too, that can go either way. So for that reason, we typically ask before we operate them. And you know what? Did you know that washers, dryers, and refrigerators are not included in the Texas SOP? They're not included as required inspection items. Seriously, not required right there. I I know you think, why not, right? Washer dryers, I kind of get. Refrigerators, in my experience, stay more than they go. But hey, I don't write the rules. It just is what it is. All right, with it always comes up, and you think about by putting in new appliances, does that add to the home's value? The answer is always, it depends. In a seller's market, maybe not so much. In a buyer's market, I would say there's a real good argument to be made for new appliances, right? If you buy cheap or mismatching, scratch and dent stuff, probably no real value add there. But Consumer Reports actually took some data, and they found that a remodeled kitchen, now, and mind you, in their study, the remodeled kitchen included appliances, countertops, flooring, all that good stuff. That can actually increase a home sale price 3 to 7%, right? But that doesn't always mean that upgrading your kitchen before listing would be a smart investment. As we all know, appliances are not cheap. And the last I looked at Home Depot, a fridge is going to run you 500 to 2 grand for a brand new fridge. Like, holy smokes, right? Obviously, a lot depends on the price range of the neighborhood you're in, what kind of appliances you're putting in, what's expected in that area and in that home. If you live in a real fancy neighborhood, like Miss Kristen, jet setting back and forth between states, the Viking fridge that she has could be $12,000. And I'm not making this up. I cut and pasted this straight out of, I Googled it, Viking fridge. Can you imagine? Look at this, almost 30. By the time you pay tax, this is a $13,000 refrigerator. That's just one appliance. You guys are the experts, though. Do you think you can get another 40, 50, 60, $70,000 bump on the price of the home by putting in all new appliances? I'm wondering, most importantly, does the appraiser, will he be so wooed, or he or she be so wooed by new appliances that they're going to say the house appraises at an additional 30, 40, 50, 60, $70,000? I don't know. I guess this might be a case by case type of basis, right? Here are some average costs. This is just quick internet search, posting those up there. You look at dishwashers anywhere from $400 to $700. A range, an oven, 650 to 2 grand. Refrigerators, that's usually the biggest one, right? The biggest one in our kitchen. It's definitely one that's the most visible anyway. Anywhere from $900 to 8,000, or the one that I pulled up there was 13 grand to replace. Clothes, washers and dryers, 400 to $1,000. And mind you, these are ballpark, they're averages. Obviously, things like the brand, the size, the capacity, features that the appliance has, things like that, those are all going to dictate prices. But the bottom line is it's a lot of money, right? Now, mismatching colors or finishes is a huge no-no. Mismatching brands, it can have a negative effect, right? I never even really noticed it until talking to some really, really rich friends of mine, and they think about this and notice this a lot. I have a few mismatched. They're all stainless steel, so you don't notice it unless you look. Me personally, I'm just John. I'm just a dude. Like I don't care the brands. I just care that they all match. And some people on a higher end, so you have, I mean, in other words, you have to consider that people on a higher end are going to notice those kind of things, the mismatching. So trying to keep things consistent is an obvious plus there. Um, you want to upgrade the appliances in accordance with the home's price. Obviously, we wouldn't put that $13,000 Viking somewhere in the hood. Um, and I think really, most buyers are pretty happy for the most part with mid-range appliances, especially if you're getting them from recognizable brands, GE, Whirlpool, Samsung, those kind of things. It's just those multi-million dollar homes. That's where I think expectations for the high-end appliances like Wolf, Thermador, Viking, that's all I can think of right now. That's where it's going to make a real difference in those type of houses. Um, Now, one of the things that you can do, and actually, I hope you guys are paying attention and you haven't walked off going to the bathroom or anything like that, because what I got coming up is like really, really freaking cool. You're going to love this. Um, One of the things that you can do with older and still functional appliances is to refresh them. Don't hold on. I'm not kidding. This is cool stuff. Rather than going out and replacing, just going ahead and giving them a freshen up. And now, hold on before you throw anything at me through the monitor here. Wait till you see some of this stuff. Check out that fridge. Okay, now take away the colors or whatever, may not be the best, but you see the idea? Like it makes the wheels start turning, right? This is pretty cool. There's stuff called washi tape I've learned about. There's magnetic stick-ons. There's vinyl wraps. Those are all temporary and they're easy to remove, right? So it's a way to decorate. It's a way to update, especially refrigerators that are so big. And just check this out. Look at that. Is that the coolest? And I'm going to show you several of these things. These are options, especially, can you imagine if you were renting a place and maybe they're not the most desirable appliances? This is an easy upgrade. And when you're done, you return it to how you found it. I can think of a couple other applications. Can you imagine if you had a mountain home that you were renting out? Wouldn't this be perfect for something like that? Or a beach home that you were renting out? Look at these things. Is that cool? They have so many options. I just picked out some of the ones that like my top three my John's faves anyway. Now imagine we talked about the mountain home, the beach home. Can you imagine? And maybe when you gals have one of these, a man cave at your place. Is that just the coolest? Oh man. I think this is just the most awesome. You may be laughing at me and thinking not really, but I think this is fantastic. I can just see either of these in a man cave if I had a man cave. And one of my all-time favorites, check this out. Like it's the biggest beer ever. Is that just awesome? Man, I love this. Okay, now this is not just refrigerators. This company here, they do these, and there's a ton of them. Okay, I'll give it to you here in a second. The company that I found online. Not only do they do refrigerators, they do dishwashers as well. So here, can you imagine that beach house and doing all beach themes like this? That mountain house and doing mountain themes. Is that just the coolest stuff? If you don't think so, but you're still think maybe it's a neat idea, they also have your basic stainless. I found all these things, if you all want to write this one down, at bestapplianceskins.com. Bestapplianceskins.com. And I will, real quickly here, put it in the chat. Whoops. If I could spell it right. Chat. Best ones when you cover the cabinet style add-on. Yeah, amen. You know what I'm talking about. Well, there you go. There is a really cool option right there for those skins. All right. If you want to just do it the old-fashioned way, that's always an option, right? Old school, just paint stuff. In some situations, it'll work. Not all of them. I get it. But, all right. Sometimes just doing simple things like swapping out hardware, hinges and handles, burner tops, things like that. Sometimes those can make all the difference in the world. Fixing rusty dish racks, right? That's a no-brainer. A lot of people, when they open up a dishwasher and they look and they see that rusty, that rack that's nasty, corroded, immediately in their heads, they got to be thinking, like, if they don't take care of this, how do they take care of the rest of the home, right? So those are just like little touches that everybody can do to make buyers think, wow, these people really respect and take care of their home, that they've even done something like that. So hopefully they look in my dishwasher and go, wow, this place is nice, right? Another one is cleaning and deodorizing your garbage disposal. It's right in the middle of the kitchen typically, right? And doing something as simple as cleaning and deodorizing and making sure that there's nothing down in there, it's going to make a loud noise or smell real bad. That can be a real big deal. If an appliance is broken, look, I just recommend either fixing or replacing, right? Buyers are most likely going to ask for it anyway. They want it fixed anyway. Or they're going to ask for a concession one way or the other. And then they're gonna want that $13,000 Viking, right? So just go ahead and do it. And especially when the market isn't as much of a seller's market, like that really makes a difference. And as far as fixing, anything can be fixed, right? It's just a matter of how much money is all it boils down to. A lot of people don't realize how easy some things are to fix, like high loops and rusty racks, right? Obviously, we all love HDTV, and a lot of people love that DIY stuff. But with appliances, a lot of the times where people just aren't familiar with them. Not to mention that there's so many more unique components in an appliance, and features and bells and whistles, all that kind of stuff. Sometimes it's just easier and faster to replace. Now, FHA loans, they typically require, and correct me if I'm wrong, they typically require all the included appliances to function properly, right? So if the buyer is purchasing the home through FHA, then they must meet the Federal Housing Administration's guidelines in order for that loan to close. Now, that's an important thing to know, especially if you're in certain markets with homes that are going to appeal more to FHA loan borrowers, right? Now, FHA does define what the term appliance means for them, and that's refrigerators, which we talked about earlier, may or may not be included, ranges, ovens, dishwashers, disposals, microwaves, and washers and dryers if they are included. So when it comes to other appliances, trash compactors, spas, things like that, those are not within the FHA guidelines. Now we're going to discuss how to handle recalled appliances. And I mentioned earlier at TLC, one of the most awesome things that comes with our inspections is the home binder, and every client gets access to it. And if they enter the appliance serial numbers and that kind of stuff into the system, they get the automatic notifications of any appliances or parts that have been recalled. And remember, it's all branded to you, so it's free marketing for you. You would be shocked how many recalled appliances there are. There are millions and millions and millions of them. And when you have a recalled appliance, there's a reason why. The wire's too small, the latch doesn't work, and bad things happen. They leak, they catch on fire, those kind of things. What I have read was in the last 5 years, there's been around 1,900 fire-related incidences reported with recalled appliances. Right? That's a lot of fires. It's a lot of recalls, and it's really a sobering kind of reminder how important it is to be able to check on recalls and make sure that when your appliance has some kind of inherent defect, that it gets serviced. This service from HomeBinder will track all those appliances and notify the client when there is a recall. They can update it as they replace appliances. So if you or your inspector don't use the home binder thing, it's a good idea to tell clients to go ahead and register all of their appliances with the manufacturer. That's the only other way that they're going to get notified. So let's talk a little bit about some of the appliances that are found in a home, and we'll kick off with the dishwasher. Now, when we talk about the systems involved with the dishwasher, we're talking like these are appliances that use the plumbing system and it uses the electrical system combined, right? It needs a dedicated electrical circuit. It's supposed to be on its own circuit, and it's going to need a plumbing supply, and it's going to need a plumbing drain, right? We often see these drains that are hooked up without a high loop. Are any of y'all not familiar with a high loop? If you've been in this game for any amount of time, you'll be quite familiar. If not, this is a high loop. That's it. This is the drain line right here coming off of the dishwasher, and it has to come up higher than the bottom of the sink here. It must come up higher than the bottom of the sink. What that does is creates a trap for the dishwasher, right? Without it, hypothetically speaking, of course, if your wife or husband dumps 16 ounces of spaghetti down the drain, clogs the drain, dumps Drano in the drain so you wouldn't find out, that Drano siphons into your dishwasher because you didn't have this high loop, and it ruins all of your silverware, you'd know what I'm talking about. Guess how I know? Hypothetically speaking, of course. Yes, you guessed it. I got mad, and then my wife looked at me and says, "Well, you knew it was supposed to be like that." Yep, she got me, and I learned a lesson. So you can tie that thing up with a shoestring for all I care. That's all the repair is. So it need not be a big worry. Very simple fix. All right, we're going to talk about some smart technology a little bit when it comes to appliances, but smart dishwashers offer things like smartphone controls. Like, I know things have really, times have changed, right? Voice controls, sensors that automatically detect the size of the load, the amount of grime that's present, and whether or not husbands should handle the pre-wash, things like that. And of course, there's good old Alexa, whose name I probably shouldn't say very loud because there's one sitting next to me. But all these cool features now that come with appliances. We just installed a new heat pump water heater, which is really cool. If you ever want to know about that, I'll be happy to tell you. Its byproduct is cold air in my always hot garage, and I can speak to that thing through my phone. It's really neat. I'm on vacation and forget to set it back. I can put it in vacation mode from the middle of another country or the middle of the bayou there. Right, Kristen? Now, there are some maintenance things that we need to be aware of. A trick when it comes to cleaning a dishwasher, one recommendation is to fill a bowl with some white vinegar. You put that on the bottom of, an empty dishwasher, not with a bunch of dirty dishes in there. Set that at the bottom, set the dishwasher to run on a hot cycle. The vinegar helps break down food bits, grease, soap scum, residues, the leftover stuff, things like that. Then after the vinegar cycle finishes up, go and run a wash cycle with baking soda. You sprinkle like a cup of baking soda around the bottom of the dishwasher and then run it through a short cycle again at the hottest water setting possible. The baking soda helps deodorize the dishwasher and then removes any stains that are left over, things like that. Just think about if you were the home buyer and you opened it up and it was clean and smelled good and all that. If you were the buyer of the house, you would appreciate that. So that's an easy one again that anybody can do. Now, one important component that a lot of people don't realize is that there are filters in dishwashers. A lot of our dishwashers have a filter that needs to be replaced or cleaned periodically. And you're probably sitting there thinking in your head right now, when was the last time you replaced yours, right? Or maybe you're thinking, do I have a filter? uh, if you've been wondering why your unit's not running so hot lately, well, maybe that's a sign that you need to go check and find out. All right, now, some of the indicators that it's time for a repair would include incomplete draining. There will always be a little bit of water at the bottom. Okay, that helps keep the seals wet and maintain that seal. But when you're leaving more than just a tiny bit, that's an indicator that the cycle isn't completing and something's wrong with it. Nowadays, in mid to low end, it's just not worth trying to fix. You just replace. But when you get into a higher end appliance, dishwasher appliance, then it may be worth fixing. If there's any leakage, of course, that's an important one. Sometimes these leaks are on the backside and water might pool, or especially if it's leaning back. It could be on the front side and then it runs down the appliance and it's dripping in the backside, so you don't really notice it. And then all of a sudden you're looking at your cabinets and you've got delamination. So that's you got to watch out for that. And when you're walking through houses, like from now on, look at the cabinets around the dishwasher. If you're seeing delamination to the kick plate and stuff like that, just in that area, that may be it may be an active leak, right? Certainly, if you smell anything burning, now it could be Tupperware, it could be wiring, right? Who knows? If you're, and you know, if you ever experience something like that and you just don't know, I would go turn the breaker off. And I have done that many times in my career, turn the breaker off or the water off. I've found I've been in vacant homes, for instance, and look behind the washing machine and that hose is about to burst. I'll go ahead and turn that thing off and let somebody know, let you guys, the agents, know, hey, listen, I went ahead and did this. Uh, and who knows how many thousands or tens of thousands of dollars I may have saved people in the past because it would have broken, it would have burst after I left. That way they don't blame me for it either. So anyway, so what we look for, of course, the high loop, we mentioned already. Soap trays that don't, appear to work. We see that a lot. Broken trays, the spring doesn't work, door springs that break, drain lines that leak, unresponsive controls or damaged controls. If there's any unusual noises or smells, those are things we're going to note. Of course, we mentioned corrosion to the racks, those kind of things. Those are some of the simple things that, we're looking for on an inspection. And I guess I should note that before we can look at any of these things, we must first look inside. Yeah, right? Now that one I nabbed off the internet, but I have found all kinds of stuff inside dishwashers. And speaking of, I have a pro tip for you when it comes to dishwashers. Pre-clean your dishes before placing them in the dishwasher. Your pets will love you for it. I told you I have struggled to make this interesting, to make appliances interesting. I thought this was cute. All right. Next thing we're going to talk about is the refrigerator. And I do want to point out this is not an item that's required by Trek standards, as we've mentioned already. We are not required to inspect these. We've probably all got a lot of these things in our refrigerators at home. However, like with most household appliance technology, awesome things with refrigerators are coming around. Besides all those cool auto defrost and dispensers and all that kind of stuff, some of these fridges actually fill themselves. Pretty cool stuff, right? And if you believe that one, I have some property I'd like to sell you, waterfront property in Arizona. But as far as other new technology, we have our smart refrigerators, right? The humble fridge has come a long way in the last 10 years or more. Walk into your local appliance retailer right now, right? And you're going to be greeted with a whole endless range of so-called smart fridges, right? They're all competing for your money. So you've got all kinds of really cool stuff. You've got basically a smartphone in your pocket right now, a tablet in the living room, a laptop in the office. Why not smarts in the fridge? I think it's kind of cool. Matter of fact, I think it's so cool. I have Apple appliances in every room of my home. Everyone in my household also owns an iPhone, an iPad, or both. We're keeping pretty diligent about keeping all of the devices synchronized with each other. All of them except for the kitchen. I guess you could say everything but the kitchen's synced. Okay. Here are a few integrated smart technologies found with refrigerators today. You've got built-in cameras, means you can look inside your fridge without even opening the door. Those are pretty cool. I like those. You can see if you've got to go buy beer before the game. Some of them have massive screens that can display recipes, calendars, music, weather, like all kinds of really cool stuff. Um, some of these I've even seen you can order your groceries right there from the fridge. It's pretty cool stuff. There was something I looked up. It was called Family Hub, I believe. You're able to do all those kind of things, order groceries through that. But I'm sure that all comes with whatever brand you buy. LG's signature French door fridge, they will flash a door open light on the floor when it's left open, but I thought it was pretty cool. Some models you can just put your foot under the light to open the door without using your hands, which I think was really cool. Man, I think they got that from car manufacturers. If you go for one of the latest Panasonic fridges, you'll have access to a whole LED touch panel, which gives you temperature controls, information on how the fridge is operating, which would come in real handy, especially if it's about to, a component's about to die or something like that, right? And I can only imagine this list is going to continue to grow as technology develops. I think there's just really, really cool stuff to come. I don't have all these fancy things in my house, but one day. All right, maintenance. When it comes to refrigerator maintenance, there's a few things you can do. One of those is checking your door seals. A loose seal, of course, allows that cold air and warmer ambient air to mix. Then it condenses and ice forms. Sometimes you get some, nasty algae growth around there. So cleaning those a couple times a year is a really, really good idea. You can, like I have an old toothbrush in the garage that I use around that one. Yeah, like ours is the typical story. We took the old one from the kitchen and put it in the garage for the extra stuff from the beer. So, well, that's the worst one, and I have to clean that one more often. So I have a toothbrush out there that I can clean that one up with. Um, what else was I going to say? Oh, do you know about the dollar bill trick? There's this what they call the dollar bill trick. You close the door on the bill. If you're able to pull it out easily, then you've got to adjust or replace the seals. That's no good. If it sticks in there, then you're fine. So pretty neat trick. Something else we need to do is we need to keep the coils clean. When our condenser coils are covered with dust, it can affect the entire refrigeration cycle. It's kind of like covering your AC system with a blanket. It won't work right. It can't work right. And believe me, cleaning fridge coils is something like nobody does. How do I know? Not necessarily as a home inspector. However, when I do air quality investigations, that's one place that I have to look because dust bunnies also create a bio nest of stuff that you don't want to breathe. So that's just part of my SOP as an air quality investigation. Setting the right temperature, it's an important thing. You want to keep your fridge between 37 and 40 degrees from what I've read, and the freezer between 0 and 5, right? Those are pretty good numbers. If you go too low, then you start freezing out some of the items that are in the fridge. If it's too warm, then you lose food. If anybody has ever been in the restaurant industry, you know that 45 is the maximum temperature allowed. At that point, I guess food science people thought of this a long time ago. Once you get to that temperature, then you're in danger of losing the food. Bacteria and stuff starts to grow. So one other thing that a lot of people I think don't necessarily know, or maybe today's economy can't afford, but it helps if you keep the fridge full. When it's full, you have more mass, and that mass of stuff holds the temperature longer. If it holds the temperature longer, then the fridge doesn't have to work as hard in order to maintain the set temp. Make sense? So keep the beer fridge full. Then of course, being prepared. We like everybody learned this during the snowpocalypse, right? Right? When the power goes out, what happens? Besides your beer becoming warm. I'm kidding, but it's still funny in my head when I keep mentioning the beer. But you want to keep doors closed and try to use food out of your pantry and that kind of stuff. Uh, an unopened fridge can keep food safe for hours, actually. An unopened freezer can maintain those temperatures for a couple days if it's full. Pretty cool, right? And of course, we talked about this earlier, but refrigerators are not Trek required. However, some inspectors will include them when they're aware that they actually do convey with the home. So that's something you want to talk about with your client and your inspector, and ask whether they're doing that or not, and or let the inspector know that it does convey or it doesn't convey. So if we do inspect the fridge, some of the things that we're looking for are going to be like, what we talked about: functionality, temperature, leaking components, the door seals, door damages, ice maker performance. I couldn't tell you how many times uh, I've looked in the freezer and I see cubes from store-bought ice, not the crescent shape that we're used to. So we look at those things. Those are some of the things anyway that we look at to make sure that it's functioning properly. Now our disposal. Uh, it's installed between the drain of the sink and the P-trap, right? You want to make sure that it's in front of the P-trap anyway. The disposal unit shreds our old food and our waste into really, really, really small pieces so that they can easily pass through the plumbing system. A lot of people ask me, can we use a garbage disposal when there's a septic system? The answer is yes, absolutely. Right? You always have to be mindful of what you put in your disposal, though. The general rule of thumb is if you can't eat it, don't put it down the drain. Right? Things like fish bones, chicken bones, grease, you do not want to put that stuff down into the system or into, and I mean the drain lines as well as a septic system or a sewer system. When you start doing these sewer scopes, you would not believe the grease buildup. That stuff doesn't just keep moving down the lines. It freezes up, and the diameter of your drain line actually uh, gets smaller. Okay, it's called occlusion. It gets smaller and smaller year after year. So you can imagine, say, an older house with cast iron. You got to deal with the corrosion and the flaking, as well as the occlusion from all the grease. And we have seen some nasty, nasty drain lines. Now, if you ever install a new disposal, oh my God, you have to make sure you remove the plug, right there, or the cap from the dishwasher line, right, before you hook up the dishwasher. There's always a plug in there because not every house has a dishwasher. So I've seen them, even on new construction, they just install the appliance, put that hose clamp on there, and then when the dishwasher goes to drain, it can't fit through that pipe, and then it overflows. So another thing to be mindful of. And of course, look at the electrical connection. You shouldn't have open wiring. It should all be contained. Like the picture here is a plug-in. That's fine. I'm talking about wire splices where you're seeing, conductors. You shouldn't have those kind of things. Some operating suggestions. Even if you have disposal safe objects that you're putting in there, it's a good idea to break them up before you grind them. Use water when you run in the disposal. What that does, it helps keep things fluid. It helps keep things moving. It's not a dry grind. And of course, keeping your disposal clean. Dish soap, some sort of soap down the drain. Helps the disposals, clean the stuff that's in there, helps break it down. It also helps combat nasty smells. And how about jams? Right? A lot of people don't realize this, but there's actually a little hole at the bottom of most units, and you can manually move that. There's a little Allen wrench thing, and those wrenches come with the disposal. If yours isn't there, you can find a regular old Allen wrench that fits up in there. If something ever gets stuck inside and seizes or even when it hasn't been used in a while and you have corrosion, it can seize that, and you go turn it on and you just hear that buzz, right? That is, if you let the buzz continue, it will trip. There's like a built-in GFI type mechanism in there, and it'll trip that. If you feel underneath, it's usually a little red square, right? So in other words, before you go buy a new disposal, push that little reset button. If you're still hearing it just hum, that means there's something stuck. And I actually did a little quick video that I will show you. This is only like a minute long. Maybe it's coming up later. Yeah, I think it's coming up later. Anyway, I got to ask this question. And I guess before I do, you're singing Ice, Ice Baby, aren't you? You're welcome. You'll be doing that for the rest of the day now. I got to ask, since when does beating metal with ice sharpen the metal? Like, who started that whole sharpen your disposal blades with ice? Who started that myth? This is the things I wonder. And blades? Have you seen the quote unquote the blades inside a disposal? I'll show you what they look like. They're called lugs. See these lugs? The lugs help break up the waste and push the waste through the grinding ring. This is the grinding ring that goes around, and those little holes, it pushes the waste through those little holes. That chops it all up in the very fine particles, because remember, you got to go through a plumbing pipe, a real small plumbing pipe. So that's all a disposal is in there. It's not like knife blades, Japanese Ginsu knife blades spinning around. That's not what's in there, and ice wouldn't sharpen those either. This is the tool right here that actually came with my disposal, but any Allen wrench will work. And I'll show you how this works real easy. I've got a whole series of videos called Homeowner Hot Minute. Stuck inside. That's right. Inside the disposal, there are these lugs that spin real fast and just disintegrate food particles, and it forces that through these little holes in a grinding ring in there. If there's a foreign object, like a utensil or a child's toy or something like that, well, then it'll get stuck and it'll seize and it'll hum. If you let it continue to do that, then there's a little thermal break on the bottom that will just turn the motor off so you don't kill it, okay? Sometimes it's as easy as turning the power off, reaching inside and removing that fork that got stuck in there. Sometimes you may have purchased a home that's been vacant for a while, and the corrosion in there has seized the motor, and it just won't spin. And that's where this comes in. This is a disposal key that you can get at any big box store. If you don't have one of those, you can even use a regular Allen wrench. These things, there's a hole right in the center under here. You simply insert it and rotate this back and forth, and you can often dislodge that corrosion that's in there that just seized the thing up, and you're back in business. Reset the thermal break under there, and you should be good to go. There you go. I've got a whole bunch of these type of videos, and I will even put a link to our YouTube channel in here. There you go. There's all kinds of cool stuff like that. Anyway, so some of the things we look for when we do the inspection: leaks, corrosion, loose or exposed electrical connections, missing fittings, the rubber gaskets that are missing or damaged. And of course, if it's making noise or vibrations, that's not good. And then of course the infamous high loop. Those are some of the things that we look at. We are going to get started again with exhaust hoods because they are so sexy. There we go. There's a few different types of range hood exhausts. You have ducted and as in like to the exterior. That can either be a downdraft if you've ever seen those that the exhaust goes down under the slab and then out. There can also be an updraft that extends up through the roof or through an exterior wall, like this, right? Then there's ductless, also known as recirculating vents. However, I can't tell you how many times I have found them that vent up underneath the cabinet because the installer never shifted the air direction out the front. Here we go. That's a version of a downdraft where it pulls it down, goes through exhaust piping, typically under the slab. Maybe if you're on a crawl space, through the crawl space and out. This is an example of a fancy one where you push the little button and it raises up out of the countertop. Those are really, really cool. If you've ever seen that little strip across the countertop behind the stovetop, wondering what the heck that is, there's a button on there. You find it and it'll raise up like that. Those are really, really cool. And of course, those are the typical ones that you see everywhere. Air is pulled up through the bottom and then vented. It goes through these filters and then vented out the top here. So some of the maintenance items and things we need to take care of range hoods would be things like cleaning the fan blades and filters. Usually the filters are the worst. They just get nasty, greasy. Yeah, everything sticks to them, right? The fans aren't typically that bad, but I know people never do these things, and the filters are just nasty. The fan blades get really gross. Those could use a nice wipe down, and it's not hard to clean grease with the right products. Some of the things we look for during the inspection, of course, the functionality, the fan, the controls, the light, those type of things, dirty or missing filters for certain. And then we want to look at proper ventilation path, that it's not terminating in a cabinet or underneath a cabinet. Like I mentioned, we find all the time. Sometimes crawl spaces, they terminate inside the crawl. It should go all the way to the perimeter and push to the outside. Now for ranges, cooktops, and ovens. I'll tell you now, the most common defect found on ranges, yet you probably already know what I'm going to say, right? The missing anti-tip bracket. I can actually feel everyone right now sighing. A lot of y'all have seen the comment about the missing anti-tip device. This is what it refers to. Our units they're required to have an anti-tip device for those, and I think I have a picture. Here we go. There we go. So it's just this cleat, usually attaches to the floor. There's also an anchor that can attach to the wall, but this keeps the unit from tipping over if a small child were to climb on that, or a large bird at Thanksgiving, say, were set on the door there, keeps it from tipping over. And then, of course, there's no shortage of stupid people that will use that as a step stool. Some of the types of cooktops that we have are ceramic or glass. We have our electric, we have our gas, and our induction top. Now, induction is the one that's a little bit tricky to inspect. So there's a lot of cases where we have an induction stovetop, but the sellers move out, they take all the pots and pans and everything with them, and then we can't operate it. They won't function without the proper pot. There is an induction pot in order for it to work. You have to have the proper one. And you know that inspectors aren't going to carry those around with them. Maybe it's something you put in the back of your vehicles. So you could be the hero when you get in those situations, right? If you know you have an induction oven and you've already looked up the home, and let's say your buyer's concerned about its functionality because they are kind of expensive, then I would definitely let the seller know you want an induction pot to be available. All right, so the inspector can test it. So that's something we want to make sure that is there, because otherwise it's impossible to make it function. And speaking of function, here's a little information on what induction looks like, because it's something you may not have seen. It's still, I would say, air quotes, newer technology. They're still, more rare than your typical flat top. But induction cooking, it heats a cooking vessel by electrical induction instead of a thermal conduction, excuse me, from a flame or an electrical heating element. So the cooking vessel must be made of a ferromagnetic metal, like a cast iron or a magnetic stainless steel. The heat actually comes from within the pan, which makes this method of cooking a lot more efficient. Therefore, you really need to make sure that your pans are suitable for this type of cooktop. Nothing else will work. All right. Copper or aluminum pans won't work unless they have, some of them have additional layers added that are magnetic, and they will, but for the most part, they won't. The best way to check if your pans they'll even work is to see if a magnet will stick to the bottom of the pan. That's the one easy, free way to test, right? These are awesome when you have kids or like elderly people, because as soon as you turn them off, they're cool to the touch. They're instantly cool. So elderly or kids won't burn themselves on them. Now we'll talk about some of the dangers of cooktops, ovens, stovetops, those kind of things. Happy stuff, right? Never leave what you're cooking unattended. It's also important that we create an environment that's safe for cooking, and make sure that we do our routine checks and follow all the safety guidelines that we need to. Keeping it clean is one of the biggest. Keep the thing clean. Food particles and grease residue, that kind of stuff can ignite and cause a fire. So get that stuff cleaned up, between each use. If you have kids, they have a whole safety program for this stuff that I was reading on. I don't want to bore you with everything, but they call it a kid-free zone. Keep kids away from the cooking areas, right? Check for body safety. This stuff, and speaking directly to long-haired people, keep your hair tied back, roll up sleeves, loose jewelry, keep that tucked in or remove it. And of course, don't fry bacon naked. Before each use, do an oven safety check. First, be sure that you don't smell any gas, right? If you do, open a window and leave. Real simple. And then immediately call somebody to come check it out, because leaky gas could be extremely dangerous, as you already know. Next, make sure that there's nothing in the oven. Okay? An oven should never be used for storage. After that, make sure that there are no food particles or grease residue on the stovetop. And something else that can be helpful is to position your oven racks before preheating so you don't burn yourself. You want to make sure you follow safety guidelines, and those are things like using the burners on the back as much as possible, and never use a pot that's too small or too big for the burner. Never leave a burner on that doesn't have something on top of it, right? Especially don't leave an empty pan or something like that on it. Uh, and speaking of pots and pans, turn the handles inwards. That way they can, small kids can't reach up and pull them down or knock them over. Some additional things, close the oven door immediately after you take stuff out, after you open it, right? Keep oven mitts and other cloth and paper out of the way of the burners. That just reminded me, I remember one time I did not look in the oven. Um, I turned it on and there was an oven mitt or one of those hot pad thingies. It was inside a cast iron skillet. And I turned the oven on and that thing caught on fire. And that wasn't fun. Fortunately, I carry a fire extinguisher in the truck and had to do the race of shame out to my truck for it. But anyway, um, speaking of keeping a fire extinguisher close is a really, really good idea. And you want to make sure it's the right fire extinguisher, an ABC. That's good for everything. Um, Baking soda is good. Even putting a lid back on top of an open pot can quickly take the oxygen away and won't allow it to burn. And speaking of fires, what should we do if we have a fire? First and foremost, turn everything off. Duh, right? Now, sometimes these fires are created because something breaks, right? Maybe we have a gas stove and all of a sudden the knob broke off and it's on high and the burner's still going, right? That's why you should always know where your main shutoff valves are. Okay, you've got to know that your gas, electric, water, everything. I actually, those little homeowner hot minute things that I did. There's one called Shutoff Hero. I give you a link for the channel. Shutoff Hero. One of the biggest mistakes people make when they have an oil or grease fire is throwing water on it. You never ever want to throw water on a grease fire. That's probably the biggest and most common mistake that I've heard of. It's if it's a small fire in the pan, just throw the baking soda or the cover back on top of it. You want to get rid of the oxygen because without the oxygen, it can't continue to burn. One thing I did learn too when I was researching this is never use flour. Flour will actually ignite. I watched some videos on it. I was shocked. Like I never knew that, right? I mentioned the extinguishers. Those are always good to have on hand. If the fire is in the oven, you want to keep the door closed. Don't open it. Don't feed it. Okay. If the fire is going on in the oven, turn off the heating element. Don't remove a lid or open the oven door until the pot or the pan is completely cooled. All right. If the fire doesn't go out, then you're going to have to get out and call for help at that point. So what we look for, well, of course, we always look for functionality. As per Trek, this is interesting. We must test the oven at 350 degrees. Ovens are allowed to test within 25 degrees of, excuse me, of 350. So anything between 325 and 375 is considered adequate, all right? Regardless of what you or the client think, that's what we have to go by our standards, right? Then, of course, you have the infamous installation of the anti-tip device that's usually missing, right? It's actually a Trek standard, so don't shoot the inspector. It just is what it is. We have to do it. Do you have the required shutoffs, especially for gas appliances? Are there any gas leaks? This, you can smell gas, fortunately. If you ever smell gas, don't operate anything with an open flame. Uh, and you don't want to look for gas leaks with a lighter. I think everybody's learned that one by now, right? Burner performance is something we test as well. We check to make sure that all the burners or the elements are functioning properly. Okay, microwaves. Did y'all know that this is the kitchen appliance most hated by surfers? Yeah, the microwave. Now, when it comes to microwave ovens, we do test all permanently installed microwaves, not the portables. Regarding functionality, there's no heating element in these. Microwaves actually use electromagnetic waves, and this is like the male part of the appliance that agitate water molecules within the food. Right, that's the male part. The agitation creates friction, which creates heat. That's how these things work. So if Alex Trebek ever asks you, now you know. This is a great diagram of microwave function. You can see the microwaves bounce around inside the chamber to penetrate and heat up food, right? Because the microwaves are a sinusoidal wave. They create hot spots in the food you're cooking, right? This is why every microwave has a rotating plate to help smooth out those hot spots. If your food object is too large to rotate, you're definitely going to cook your stuff unevenly. That's why all microwaves have those. That metal mesh that's on the microwave door, that basically serves as a reflector for the microwaves. It's like a Faraday cage for your food, right? And besides cleaning, really no maintenance required on these things. Now, some of the safety tips when it comes to microwaves, we want to follow the instructions that are provided by the manufacturer. They tell us good info like we shouldn't use the microwave when it's empty, okay? Using microwave safe containers is also important. If your plastic container isn't labeled for microwave ovens, well, it can melt, right? And it can melt into your food. You can purchase microwave leak detectors. From what I've learned is that many brands experience leakage, but the ones I saw at air quotes acceptable levels, all of them were. There's a ton of YouTube videos on this stuff. One method I found testing was really, really interesting is, and you can't miss it if you look for it, you'll find it. These YouTube videos, that is, using cell phones to test microwaves. Yes, using your cell phone. What they would do is place a phone inside the microwave, close the door, and then call it. The theory is that if the signal can't get in, then the same microwave, the microwave's at the same wavelength, then they can't get out. Listen, it makes some sense, but please don't quote me as a credible source for testing your microwave with your cell phone. Deal? If you have any damage to the door or the seal, honestly, just use that as an excuse to go buy a new one. And lastly, if you use microwave to dry your hair, definitely use mirrored sunglasses. Yes, that was a joke. Some of the things we look for as inspectors. Number one, functionality. Does the thing work? Some inspectors you might see, they use this little LED indicator. Some might heat up a cup of water or a wet sponge. When I was in the field, I always used a bag of popcorn. Honestly, I did for years and years and years. It always made people smile, it smelled good, and it proved that the microwave worked. You want to make sure that the microwave is properly installed. We want to look for signs of rust, corrosion, the turntable come on, the light, door functionality, those kind of things. All right, dishwashers, washers and dryers. Again, not something that is included in the track inspection standards, but it is something that we want to touch on briefly. If we decide to inspect the washer and dryer, some of the things we look for is, again, functionality. Do they work, right? Door closing and locking. Do those work? Are there any visible leaks? Proper venting to the exterior. Any excessive noise, vibrations, anything like that while we're running it. And then, of course, damages and corrosion. One thing inspectors do not do is to check every setting. All right, that goes for ovens, microwaves, dryers. That is completely unreasonable. And yes, I have had that complaint that we didn't check it on this mode or that mode. That's impossible. We'd be there all day long. Now, our bathroom exhaust fans are part of the inspection. This is the component of the bathroom that we consider an appliance. Exhaust fans are just tiny ceiling fans that pull in that ambient air into a duct that terminates through the roof or an exterior wall, right? These fans should not terminate inside of an attic or underneath a mobile home, all right? Whenever it terminates there, or wherever it terminates, you should have a backdraft damper on it, okay? That helps keep rodents and stuff like that out. Sometimes these appliances are simple wall operated, with a switch. And some of them are wired into the ceiling light, where every time you turn on the light, the fan comes on. Probably the primary objective of an exhaust fan is to remove high moisture air from the house, right? You have a certain cubic feet of air in, say, your bathroom. Human loads, bathing loads, those will increase the quantity of moisture in the air. So if you continue to increase the moisture in the air, when we're talking about relative humidity, right? You begin to grow stuff and dust bunnies and other organic matter that might be stuck to the walls or the ceiling, right? So some home designs are such that the master closet is located in the bathroom area. Well, high relative humidity will only contribute to mold growth on clothing and leather goods and stuff like that that are in the closet, especially things that are in the back of the closet. Now also it exhausts odors, right? I'm sorry, ladies, it can't eliminate the man. I mean the source, but it can help eliminate the smell from the source. Okay, here is a good little diagram. If you take a look there on the left, you can see, well, you can see the exhaust fan. It's sending the air to the exterior. Now, our exhaust fans can vent to the soffits, all right? However, excuse me, if they do vent to the soffits, they need to have a termination point kind of similar to the one on the bottom. So that way we know that the air is being pushed all the way outside of the home, sorry, or to the perimeter of a crawl space, like on a mobile home. All right. Besides the obvious pushing high moisture air in the attic and causing fungal growth, you also pressurize the attic and then push contaminated air back into the house through other ceiling penetrations, right? So don't think about like this is a dire situation or anything like that. Like, oh my gosh, my exhaust fan doesn't terminate to the exterior, it terminates in the attic and I'm going to die. It's just not that dire. But it would be embarrassing to have that on your headstone. So just fix it already. So some of the things we look for when it comes to the exhaust fans, number one is always functionality. Does the thing work? We look for dust buildup. We look for moisture stains, especially, the ceiling area around the fans. Proper termination points. Again, terminating at the exterior, right? Excessive noise and vibration. Then we also offer a program where we stay with you while you shower and operate the fan for you. So that's something, if you're interested, please call Lucas Sanders at the office and he'll get you hooked up. I'd also like to address a common fear, a common question when it comes to all this technology in our homes. Can these new technology appliances spy on us? The answer is they might, but I'll tell you what I'm more scared of is my vacuum cleaner. Yes, my vacuum cleaner has been collecting dust on me for years. And thank God that is all, folks. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really, really do appreciate it. I hope you found it humorous and you walk away with a little bit more knowledge on appliances. And this wasn't totally boring. If you have any questions, I will do my best to answer. If you think you got everything you need, you don't have any questions, you are free to leave, free to log off. You will get full credit for today's session. If you want this video, put your name in the your email in the chat there, and I will get it sent out to you. And please check out some of our other classes. We appreciate you.